The laugh. Did you hear the laugh on the outro? That we're joined now by Twiggy and Sadie Frost, who directed the film. Good morning, ladies.
Hello.
Lovely to see you both.
Good morning. It is an absolutely superb documentary.
Thanks
Both
for this,
of us.
young lady.
And what a wonderful, incredible, inspiring life you
Well,
had.
thank you. Well, I'm hopefully still living it.
Yes, you are.
Clearly.
You grab it with both hands.
Yeah.
And it's like nothing's ever stood in your way. You never had... It seems like you didn't have doubts, almost.
I certainly didn't plan any of it. I
Yeah.
certainly didn't plan being discovered age 16. You know, I grew up a skinny little kid, hated what I looked like, but I think all teenagers hate what they look like, don't they? So to me, it was as big a shock to me in 1966 that happened.
Yeah.
But things like Broadway and doing a film, I was lucky. I had these amazing... Ken Russell wanted me in the film.
The boyfriend. Yep.
And he was the biggest director in England at that time. So who was I to say? I was terrified, but I figured
But
the
you
worst
hadn't
that can
acted,
happen
though,
is...
Twiggy. You hadn't danced, you hadn't sung. Like,
but
you still
I
had the
did-
confidence to go, oh, go on then, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, because I had Ken Russell saying, you can do it. So I went off to class, I learnt basic tap dancing. I could always sing in tune, so that was all right.
Yeah.
And I loved that kind of period. So, and I thought the worst that can happen is they'll give me terrible... I mean, they're not going to kill me. I might get some bad reviews, but... And Tommy Tune the same. That was even more...
On
scary.
Broadway,
I did
yeah.
One and only in the 80s.
Honestly,
and that was
Twiggy,
scary.
we've met and we've interviewed and we talk about various bits and pieces you've done over the years, but watching your life and your career unfold on screen is one of the most jaw-droppingly charming, extraordinary, motivating, inspiring things. And I think that, Sadie, from your perspective, having a great subject is important for a documentary. Persuading that subject to make the documentary is a different matter altogether. Was it hard to get her to agree?
I mean, it's very... I mean, most... You know, it's very difficult. So many documentaries have been made to find, you know, somebody as amazing as Twiggy that hasn't been actually a documentary made. But I was doing the podcast for the documentary Quant that I had out a few years ago. And
That's my podcast.
Yes.
yeah, I was on your podcast
Tea
about Tea with Twiggy.
But she was talking about Quant.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And then she said to me, what are you doing next? And I suddenly realised I actually didn't have a job. I hadn't thought about it. I was like, oh, my God, I don't have a job. So I was like, oh, can I do a documentary about you? And I was, like, pleading. And she was just saying...
And I went, well, let's talk about it off air.
Yeah.
And so when we went off air, I said, let's go and have lunch next week. Because I have been asked to do it over the years.
Sure you have.
And certain people have sent me treatments and things, but it's a very tender thing to do a documentary in your life.
Yes.
And we went to lunch, got on really... I mean, we knew each other, but not ever so well. And I suddenly figured, I really like Sadie. I loved Quant. It's a really good documentary. If anyone hasn't seen it, it's fabulous. And I thought, she's a woman, that's good. She a kind of parallel life. She's been in the public eye since she was very young. She's done fashion, she's done designing. I've done fashion, I've done designing. She's an actress, I'm an actor. So I thought, this is quite good, actually.
There's a nice
She
synergy.
understands,
And there
she'll
was
understand
a lot
me.
of trust between us.
Yeah.
And I think I've been used to being in situations where I felt exploited, and I wanted to be really sensitive to Twiggy's life and realise, like, I want to celebrate her life and not sensationalise the bits she didn't want to tell. So there had to be trust, but I'd have to push you a little bit, but then... You know, I really respected you.
We never really fell out.
No, we never did. But we could be honest with each other. And
could.
I think if you're making a documentary, for me, it's really important to respect that person.
Yeah.
And, you know, now it's coming out on the BBC on the 15th of September, so we're really excited because it was at the cinema, but now everyone can see it on the telly.
Yeah. I think it's 9 o'clock on BBC Two.
Yeah.
on the 15th.
But it's interesting what you're saying, Sadie, about what you put in and what you leave out.
Yeah.
And I think it also has to come from the right place, what you put in as well. And one of the most uncomfortable moments for me was when Woody Allen was interviewing you. And
on camera.
On camera, yes. and exactly what he says to you. You had no idea what you were going into at that point, did you?
I'd flown into New York. It was my first trip to New York. And a wonderful photographer, cinematographer called Bert Stern.
Yeah, he did Marilyn pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really famous. Sadly no longer with us. He wanted to do a documentary on my trip to New York. Well, that's why the footage of me at the airport, arriving, that's all
Yeah.
Bert.
Yeah.
And then when we were shooting, he said to me, I want to put you in a studio. I want somebody to interview you. And I've got this mate. He's an up-and-coming comic, because he wasn't known then. This is 67.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, that's fine, you know. I was used to people saying, you know, how do you get your name? What do you eat?
Yeah,
Always,
yeah,
what do you eat? Do you love New York? And so we went in a studio with a big audience. Yeah. And, you know, you'll see it. The opening question was, what do you think of serious matters and who's your favourite philosopher? At that point, my stomach turned and I thought, oh, my God, because I didn't, you know, I was 16.
No.
I mean, he was trying to intimidate you and
embarrass her. As an interviewer, Sadie, I sit there watching it. The brilliant thing is, the bit where he turns around is when you get him back. But I was seething listening to this man interviewing this young girl. I didn't realise it was
17.
And just trying to embarrass you. Who's this model?
Which he was.
Which are philosophers. But he didn't know any philosophers as well. And you handled it, which I think
that was the funny thing.
But watching you through a lot of this, you just handled yourself so impeccably in so many scenarios when you're watching men being lascivious about your interviewers, asking you really out-of-order questions that these days would have them hung, drawn and quartered.
But that's one of the things that I think Sadie's done so well. It's not only I mean, obviously it's about me and my career and my life, but it's quite interesting, the social aspect of it, of how things have changed. I mean, some of the things that some of those guys said to me, they'd never get away with it in a million years now. I mean, it's incredible.
And I think she was the original kind of it girl, like the first, you know, and she changed things for a lot of young women and said, like, if you're working class, you can go out and do this, and kind of push the boundaries, which I think that was one of the biggest things for me, that you can be a bit different and make things happen when they're not expected to happen. So I think the documentary's supposed to be celebratory and inspiring. And when we've been doing the screenings, it's been 18-year-olds to 80-year-olds. Yeah. So it's for a very kind of...
Yeah, I think people who... I get ladies come up to you who've grown up with me at my sort of age. And they're usually in tears because it brings their lives back into focus. But then I get their daughters and granddaughters, you know.
I loved watching it, because there are so many of those images as well that are somewhere buried deep in your brain. Even the very first haircut you had in the Fair Isle sweater.
Well, that was the first professional photograph I ever had taken. And it's probably the most famous photograph.
And the archive, all the archive that supports Twiggy's life is brilliant. And we were really lucky to have partners like Film Soho, who produced the film with
They've been absolutely amazing.
And one thing we're really looking forward to is we've got a double bill on the King's Road of both my movies, Quant and Twiggy, together.
Fantastic.
So
it's in the Chelsea Arts Festival.
Fabulous. Yeah,
so
and
we will be
There's
there.
a wonderful moment at the beginning when you're being asked, someone, as usual, one of the interviewers is asking you about whether you've got boyfriends and all that sort of stuff, and you say, you did get asked out by one young man who then changed his mind, didn't he? Because he couldn't afford to take you out.
That's right.
What did he say?
No, I was a mod, and I'd gone... my mum and dad would let me go to a club on a Saturday night, a mod club in Harrow, because I lived in northwest London. And this boy came and danced with me, and then he asked me out. And he took me out once to the pictures. I mean, I was only 15.
Yeah.
He was probably only 16. I felt very grown up. And then I thinking, you know, oh, love is blooming. And then I got a phone call at home, because there was no mobile in those days, about, I thought, our next date. And he said, I don't know how to put this, but I can't afford a girlfriend and a scooter. He was saving up for a scooter. I'm saving up for a scooter, and I can't afford a girlfriend and a scooter, so I'm going with the scooter. So I got dumped for
I'd love to know who that person was.
Yeah,
and I just
still
love
around.
the fact she laughs about it. Like, that's your whole take on life.
I was very upset at the time.
Were you? But now you're not
I bet he's even more upset, though, Twiggy, when he realised what he'd done for his scooter.
But it's funny.
Thank you so much for popping in and seeing us.
Thank you
very much.
It's absolutely superb.
Thank
you. Thank you. And Twiggy will be available on BBC Two on the 15th of September.
Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.